Hi, Deb here and welcome to my craft room. Once again we're going to be making stuff for the fairy garden. These little pots I got from Temu and I want to make lots more of them because I want to make little plant pots for the garden. So I'm using the Resin Mould mould making kit. It's, you know, this frame is brilliant for making silicone moulds, just because you can move it to whatever size you want. I just find it really good. So you put it together at whatever size you want. Use the little clips to clip the edges together to make it secure. And then you get your transfer tape or sticky back plastic or whatever you're using, and you lay that down flat without sticking it all together like you're just about to see me do. I made a terrible mess of this. There it goes. I did manage to straighten it all out though in the end. And you stick the mould casing down on top of it, making sure you push it down really firmly, and then I always turn it over and make sure the edges are really firm, and as you can see they weren't, so it's always sensible to turn it over and make sure it's all pushed down properly. And then you go round with your hot glue to make sure it's completely sealed, because you don't really want it messing up your desk, and you don't want to be wasting silicone either. So this just, you know, makes sure it's completely secure. And then you put in your pieces that you want to make your mould with. Yeah, for example, my little pots from Temu. They're such cute little pots. Pushing them down firmly. Now the silicone I am using is Resin Silicone. You have to pour it from very high up, and that's supposed to get rid of the bubbles. I didn't make enough this time, but I will make some more, but you don't need to see me making more and pouring it in. And this is the next day when it's all cured. Undoing the clips. And the glue comes off fairly easy, fortunately. I think the hardest part of demoulding this was getting the mould housing broken apart. It just would not separate. Really struggled with it. I mean, we got there eventually, but oh, I struggled. I'm always really careful to make sure I wash all of this properly before I put it away again, because it's better to do it when you finish with it than before you want to use it, because that makes me really cross when I go to pick something up and it's dirty and I think, oh, I've got to clean it before I use it. And these weren't too hard to get out. That Let's Resin Silicone is very, very pliable. It's very good. And there they are both out. And here I am. I think this is the next day. I'm mixing up some aquacast to put in the pot. I can't remember how much aquacast I mixed. Aquacast is really easy to mix up. I do like using aquacast very much. I think it was 80 mils of powder and just over 20 of water. Yeah, 80 of powder and just over 20 of water because I wanted it quite runny. Pour the water over the powder and mix and mix and mix. I did cut a chunk of me mixing out because you don't need to see me mixing it over and over and over again. I'm just adding a tiny little bit of black pigment because I just want it to be very pale grey. This pigment came in the resin, in the JDiction Resincrete starter kit, which I got, and that's the black pigment in there. I didn't want to mix it in too well because I wanted it to come out looking quite marbled, mottled. But I think I mixed it a bit too well. Right, and here I am pouring it into the mould. I'm making a mess as usual. Why is it? Doesn't matter how careful you are, things always overflow. And giving it a good old shake and a tap to release any bubbles that may be in there. Right, and here it is a few hours later and I'm demoulding it. Look at the state of my table and everything. You'll have to excuse the mess that you can see laying everywhere. And here is the pot. Oh, it is a bit marbled. And I actually made 16 of these pots. I made 4 round ones and 12 square ones. They're to go in the fairy garden. I've ordered some little flowers from Temu, as you can see in the picture here, to put in the pots. I'm filling all the pots with, this is fake soil from Hobbycraft. and I'm filling all the pots with it. You can see at the top of the screen there, those 4 little plants, paler green ones. They are all in pots. They're little doll's house plant pots with plants in. And then on the right of the screen at the top, the mauvey, purpley mauvey and the green, they were bushes, 2 separate bushes, which I cut up into bits so I could put those in the pots. And you can also see a little tree, if you see the little stick right over on the right hand side with some dark green and little pink bits, that's the tree that I shall plant in a minute. Now I'm mixing resin in with the soil now. It's epoxy resin. I believe it's JDiction epoxy resin. I do like their resin. And I'm filling up all of the pots with that. The 4 round ones I'm going to use for the doll's house plant pots. So I've only put a very small amount of the soil in there because where the plants are in the pots, I didn't want them too deep. And here we are, as you can see, I've added the resin to all of the pots. And I'm just mixing up the first one, making sure it's all thoroughly mixed before I put the pot in there. And the reason I mixed it all up with resin was so that the pots didn't come out, because it's going to be in a nursery garden. I didn't want the children to be able to get the pots out. I thought it would be safer for them if they were in the larger pots. And here's the first pot plant going into the pot that I've made. And I do the same thing for all of the next 3, all 4 of the plants that I got from the doll's house pot plants. They're all exactly the same. I think I probably won't be showing you me doing all of them because you don't need to see that. You might see me just doing one more. Yeah. There we are, it's another one of the little pot plants put in. Right, and here we are mixing up the ones that I've put a lot more soil in. These are for the bushes that I've cut up to look like little, they look a bit like sedum plants to be honest, but the way they came, they were much too big for my pots. And I thought if I cut them up, they'd go a lot further and they would fit size-wise much better. So I've literally just mixed all the soil up with resin. It's good fun playing with fake soil and resin, making a mess. Making mud pies, that's what you do when you're kids, isn't it? Oh, this is the tree I'm planting in here. I had terrible trouble getting the tree to stand up straight. I used these coffee stirring sticks, but in the end I've got one of those helping hand metal things with, a metal stand with clips on. I used that in the end to hold it up because it kept falling over here. And now I'm mixing up the soil to put the sedums in. If you see, I just mixed it up and I just popped it in. Fiddled about with the soil a bit to make sure I covered all the bottom, all the stems. And then I'll do another one and put a green sedum in it. I think I did 6 of these. I managed to get 6 plants out of 2 big bushes, which is good. Surprising how much resin you use doing this. I thought, having filled them up completely with soil, that I wouldn't use very much resin at all, but you really do use a lot of resin. But I did want to make sure that it was all soaking, so it was all of that soil was wet. I didn't want any dry bits that the kids that might mean that they could pull the plants out. There's one of the green ones gone in there, just covering over the stems so they're insecure. And then I'll cut the next bit. You don't need to see me doing all of those. And these last 3 I'm doing, they came attached to paper. They're sticky backed. And there's 3 different colours, red, pink and yellow. But yeah, they were sticky backed, so I literally just laid those on top of the resin in the hope that they would stick down and stay there. And I just put 4 of those little plants in each pot. They do look quite effective when it's all dried and looking nice. And here I am just topping up. I went round all of the pots with a pipette and the excess resin, and I just filled up all of the pots to make sure that they were all full up properly. And here is the finished results. As you can see, the ones that were stuck to the paper look a bit like heathers. I am so pleased with them. Thank you for joining me. Please hit like and subscribe, and I'll see you again soon.